slowing down some of this damage out of Cloud9.
Yeah, it absolutely will. If they can land it onto the backline is the big thing. Again, Sky is very good at getting around these a little bit on the slower side melee heroes like Krull. But if we can see more just beautifully positioned gauntlets coming out of Quarter Block, then we can definitely see them, get an Atlas down. That'll give them more time in a fight to kind of play with things. That's another 338 gold payout there for Cloud9. Still a sizable gold lead for them, but Impunity's positioning has really allowed them to find opportunities every chance they can get.
And if you want to see more great gauntlets out of Impunity, and Echo is one way of doubling your chances of that. Quadravoid picking up a big item for the captain here. Cloud9 are beginning to make some aggressive posturing again, starting to push up past the middle point of the map. One more Sentry life is available here, and if they pick it up quickly, this will reduce Impunity's options for vision and safety in their side of the jungle. Cloud9 secure it. Quadravoid wants to maybe make something happen. A Scout Trap spots out where Cloud9 is. They can go in if they want to. Blue's just walking out. Quisi, he's coming in. That's the first gauntlet. Where's the second one going to be? It locks him in. Old School, he doesn't have anywhere to go. The Crucible does buy some time, but already Cloud9 have found the first kill, and it's very hard for Quisi to do any more. Impunity overstep, and Cloud9 punished.
Yeah, that was a little bit too hard on the chase. The gauntlet came down, and it was a really well-positioned gauntlet, but unfortunately, QC was a little bit too behind. Blue City was really deep in that fight. They didn't have the combined damage. Unfortunately, they were able to cut it out. We'll get into it right here as we see this replay. Again, beautiful gauntlet comes out, burns the blocks out of Cloud9, but look how far back QC is, and meanwhile, the whole time, Cloud9 are just able to rein in the pain onto Blue City, and it's only a matter of time before QC drops, as well as Cloud9 find a clean 2 kills off that one.
Yeah, very nice stuff from Cloud9. They really forced Impunity's hand, though, with that take of the Sentry. It was a window of opportunity for Impunity that just didn't quite pan out. Look at all the items being picked up in that feed on the right. Cloud9 are very well equipped for this next engagement, and with Kraken on the map, they're certainly looking for one soon.
Yeah, definitely are. That 15-minute mark is huge. Losing a fight after the Kraken's on the board is almost assuring destruction of your base in some way, shape, and form. So we'll have to see how the next one turns out. I'd really like to see Impunity be able to group up and get their damage focused onto Old School and bring them down. It's just the ability to set up the play because of the mechanical skill of the Cloud9 team and of the Impunity team. It's very back and forth fights as far as the damage trade goes. Cloud9 just find the little bit better edge in these past couple fights.
And Cloud9 looking for maybe some more fights. Blue does get the hook landed onto him, but Gabe Vizzle having some trigger discipline, not committing just yet to the fight. Quisi's poke damage is really not being that impactful at this point. Denominate, the build he's gone for needs more of those basic attacks coming in. Does mean that Impunity has to hard commit if they want to have a good chance of winning something here. Look at this Blue. Oh, he gets spotted out in there. The trespass actually committed to him. Blue, he's got to get out of here. Quisi tries to make the counter engage happen. Good from Hell's Heart, but it actually gets blocked on the back line. Blue tries to make it there. He needs to weaken down Old School, but Gabe has his back. Quisi is out of there over the wall. Quater has no way out, though, and Joseph is on the hunt. This could be an ace Denominate if Cloud9 play their cards right. That's the first kill picked up. Quisi, he's got to try and pop the reflex block. It's not going to be enough. Cloud9 find themselves an ace, and they have a Kraken to go pick up off the back.
Cloud9 are going to get this Kraken. They're going to get a choke point turret off of the minion wave as well. And with only 2 turrets between them and a victory, they may have what it takes to close game number 1 out. But even then, we cannot count Impunity out. If they're able to come through and find a clean couple of kills on Cloud9, they definitely can take down this Kraken, and they can definitely start to swing things their way off the back of some bounty gold.
Yeah, Impunity do have a lot riding on this next couple of minutes, though. Echo's available for Quater. That is going to be massive here. He does need to have as much lockdown for the backline as possible. And also Impunity, they kind of need to engage on their own terms, right? You saw them try and do that. Blue snuck into the bush. But ultimately, it was Cloud9 setting up that fight. If Impunity actually force things out of Cloud9, maybe they can do something here.
Yeah, and what was really unfortunate was that hook and chain did land. I think it was more of just a check. As soon as Gabe Vizzle saw, oh, hold on here.
Yeah, very close to landing a hook and chain onto Quisi here. Impunity forced back into their base. Only 2 turrets remaining for the Singaporean team here. They've definitely got their work cut out for them. Can they take down this Kraken quickly enough? Blue's actually pulled in. That's the signal for Joseph to maybe go here. Good Gauntlet coming out. Quarterboy is on the front line. Trespass is huge, though. That's going to stun up 3 members. Here comes Gauntlet number 2. They got to get onto Old School. Blue's the only one on the back line. He can't quite get there. Now he's just trying to delay C9 from pushing to win. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. Look at how healthy this Kraken is, Denominate. Impunity need a miracle here. C9 are pushing in, making the Juggernaut play. They're going to find another kill onto Queasy. Cloud9 take game number 1 of our 3rd place match.
Yeah, it was such a good play coming out of Cloud9. Again, it's just too difficult for this Krull and Blackfeather to stick onto the sky unless if they can land the stun. And Gabe Vizzle with the Crucibles just perfectly timed over and over again. They were able to get out, and if you're not able to lock down the sky, there's just not a whole lot this Krull can do, because then you've overcommitted and you can't escape either.
Very convincing victory there from Cloud9, about 10,000 gold up. As we close things out, Impunity had few windows of opportunity to keep things on an even keel. They had a decent early game, but things did seem to fall apart a little bit as we moved later on.
Yeah, they definitely did, and I think just based on the movements, I think their fights were actually set up very, very well. It was just a matter of Cloud9 blocking out those key stuns, and if you're not able to get a Krull safely onto Sky, then it's just never really going to work out for you. There's just too much kite potential. There were some great trespasses coming out of Gabe Vizzle as well, some good triple stuns that just help that just little bit of extra padded comfort zone for Old School.
Yeah, I have to admit, Gabe Vizzle's Turnwalker, extremely scary. I would imagine heading into game number 2, probably a couple of chains ups in the draft, right?
Definitely, especially as we switch sides. So, you know, maybe we'll see the Rona get through, which a lot of these teams have really been favoring. So we're just going to have to see what happens.
All right, well, Impunity, they weren't quite able to pull out game number 1. Cloud9 take it down, but we are going to be heading into a game 2 after we throw it back to our analysts for a little bit more information on that match.
Thank you very much, guys. Somewhere in the world, Humanist is rejoicing because we just saw I Love Joseph's Ozo Acra bounce his way to a victory. It didn't feel that strong early on in the game. Impunity definitely going even in the earlier fights, but the longer this went on, it felt like Cloud9 slowly but surely squeezing this one toward a victory.
The key was Gabe Vizzle and the 720 mark. Watch his Ardent play. He body blocks the Krull ultimate. And by the way, he crucibled every single other Krull ultimate. A Krull from Hell's Heart did not land on any of the team members. And from there, he saved Old School with a trespass stun. They killed QC, and that set them up, then take the turret and gold mine, and it gave them a 2K gold lead. That was just insane Churnwalker play by Gabe there.
Yeah, another key thing was the sky. I mean, I feel like Impunity made such a huge mistake in the draft, last picking the Krull, forcing their composition to become a dive comp against the Sky that can kite for days. We saw it yesterday. Actually, C9 lost to it. So Impunity, we expected them to come out with a much stronger draft. They faltered a little bit, and C9 definitely took an advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. C9, that's one of the things we know them for as well. Taking advantage when an opponent makes a mistake. We do have a replay of one of the latest stages of the game, one of the fights that really sealed the deal here for Cloud9.
Yeah, and this is one of those ones where you look at the reflex block usage, and they was pretty solid, but there's just so much damage. The trespass and the death from above both being comboed on top of each other, it meant that the members of Impunity were just stuck there, taking so much damage.
At the end of that team fight also, Old School blocked the Krull Hell's Heart with his own reflex block, so C9 definitely seemed to be a reset team from yesterday, very focused, and more importantly, they were exiting those gauntlets very impressively. Every single time they would stagger the reflex blocks, not using them on the same gauntlet, so that they can leave both of the echoed and the first one. Very impressive.
Yeah, fantastic stuff coming out from Cloud9. And you mentioned using the reflex blocks effectively. Mechanics is exactly what you expect coming out from a team like Cloud9. Let's take a look at the damage that was done during the first game of this best of 5. And you can see that it was I Love Joseph topping the table there on his Ozo.
Yeah, like Iraqi called it, a lot of AoE damage, able to hit the entire team. And I got to make one mention about reflex block. Gabe actually blocked a from Hell's Heart from the bush in the mid game. I mean, that was insane. And you can saw the last game, Quarterbar did block 1 trespass, but he missed 2 key crucibles on 2 of Gabe's trespasses that allowed Cloud9 to take advantage in those team fights and deal this damage.
Absolutely fantastic stuff coming out from Cloud9 as a whole team, but it was a very close early game between these two, so I'm curious to see how the start of game number 2 will pan out and whether or not Impunity will be able to get an early advantage that they'll need to take games in this series. Now, before we jump into the draft for game number 2, I want to remind you guys at home that in a few hours' time, we are going to be doing the global unveiling of Vainglory 5v5. That is in 2 hours and 10 minutes. Woo! Make sure that you are here. This is going to be one of the biggest moments in Vainglory history. You have to be here for that moment.
I mean, we have such amazing teams as well that are going to be playing on the 5v5. Multiple games, like you mentioned, 3 total. Seen TSM and Ace later on in the day with the addition of Shingagen as well. You definitely need to stick around.
And Renegades from Southeast Asia as well are going to be stepping onto this stage. More on that later on today, but the bottom line is 5 p.m. Be there or be square. Let's get on into the draft for game number 2 in this best of 5. Cloud9 now 1-0 up in the series. What is it that Impunity can do to tighten the draft up a little bit here so they can get an advantage?
I was just about to say, do not give Churnwalker over to Gabe. You saw his hook and change, detecting the crow from the bush, pulling him out, and then engaging him, and they won that fight in the late game. So that was a great ban by Impunity there.
And now that they're on A side, they don't need to necessarily ban away the Vox. They could potentially try and pick it up themselves if they are still going to be focused on making sure that it does not go over to Cloud9.
And one thing we need to touch on is the fact that Deft Q is actually not playing for Impunity. It's Blue City instead. He was on the Cruel, and that's why they were able to hold off the early game very well. His rotations were on point, keeping up with Joseph. At the same time, though, he does bring a different sort of hero pool, so C9 need to adapt to that fact.
And you expect that they will be able to do so. They've started off strong in game number 1. But now, swapping to the other side of the draft, that always changes things up going into game number 2. Arden will be the first lock-in.
Yeah, Impunity still putting a heavy focus on Arden as their first pick, even with Vox still available. So now Cloud9, so many times throughout this season, we've seen them lock in the Vox as their first pick on B side if it's available. I'm very curious to see if they're going to stick with that strategy.
Yeah, on B side, they actually have first pick Vox. They also first picked, and they're going to go with Koshka first pick here and then ban away the Baptiste. That's a pretty smart draft strategy because Impunity plays the Baptiste so well.
If Impunity doesn't ban Rona, C9 will pick up Rona with the Koshka and play a really aggressive dive composition and then save their last pick for the hero or the captain hero that could be either a Grace or even something like a Fortress.
Yeah, and how smart is this draft as well to take that Koshka, and now when they come around to their next pick, they will have their choice of either Vox or Rona. Impunity cannot take both of them off the board, so Cloud9 will be getting one of those 2 comfort
And
picks.
what's so great, if Impunity does ban the Rona here, that's the other counter pick to the Koshka that you can play fairly well if you manage to get to the late game. So Impunity, to defend against the composition, they have to take away picks from themselves.
Yeah, Cloud9 definitely needs to take Rona here because if you think about Impunity, when they beat Tribe in the first day, they countered the Koshka with a Rona.
Yeah.
So let's see if Cloud9 is going to pick up this Rona here or they're going to let it slip through and pick a captain.
It also makes so much sense to grab it because Sky was just banned. That's one of the few counters to a Rona that we've seen come out on the fold. So the fact that the Sky's been taken off the board, this just feels like it should be a Rona.
I just really want to talk about the fact that how awesome it is to see Cloud9 having fun on this stage. I mean, this team had such a credible success throughout this year, multiple achievements in the Unified Western Championships, taken both the summer and the spring one. Now on this world stage, even though they lost in the semifinals, fighting for the 3rd place, they're enjoying themselves.
It's good to see that spirits aren't too low, that they are still themselves. They are still the Cloud9 we know and love stepping there on the stage. Vox has been locked in for Cloud9, and Impunity have to decide how to answer that one.
Yeah, I think Rona is definitely going to be on a table here to counter that Koshka. And they could go with potentially a Celeste or even a Lorelei jungle and just basically have a huge dive count with Rona. And look at Joseph smiling there, winking. He's like, I got my Koshka. I'm going to show them how to Koshka here.
This is one of the first times ever I see Joseph smiling on a stage. Usually he is so focused, but they're definitely having fun with it.
Playing it up for the crowd. They know that they are right up there with Impunity in terms of being crowd favorites here in Singapore. So having a bit of fun there with the crowd, with the camera.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
it is going to be that Rona pick.
I feel like we have a split crowd here, which is a rare thing when Impunity is on the stage.
It's not so much a
Black
split
Feather?
crowd as it is the crowd just supports both teams.
Lorelei or Celeste? I think Lorelei will make the most sense because they want to dive completely on the Vox.
Blackfeather.
Blackfeather gets picked up, and that leaves potentially Grace open here on the side, or even Catherine. I've seen Cloud9 actually day one play Catherine with this Koshka composition.
Yeah, Blackfeather makes a lot of sense. I just said it as they were picking there because you can count Fortress. It could be the pick for Cloud9, but Grace is also still open. Talking about the Blackfeather though, it works really well against Koshka if you're able to steal away the camps that she will try to invade. But if you go for a 1v1, you will easily get outdueled.
All right, it's going to be the Lorelei to round out this composition for Cloud9 here. 17% pick rate, less Lorelei than I was expecting coming into the tournament, but still a fringe pick that has had some serious success on the stage. Now, we have to get on into this game, boys and girls. What are we expecting to see coming out of these two teams, and who's going to be able to take it?
Blackfeather pick was risky. We saw Tiger shut down Joseph completely when Joseph was on Blackfeather and Tiger's had Koshka. Joseph and Gabe are going to do the same thing in this game.
All right, so one for Cloud9.
It's with the Blackfeather Rona, though. This combo is so strong together. I think they will be able to overcome. I'm going to go with Impunity.
You're going to rip open your shirt? Or okay. One each here.
Gabe's Lorelei is one of the best in the world. I played with it when I was back in North America. To see it on the stage, I'm very excited. Combined with the Koshka, they should be able to snowball the early game, so I'm going to go with Cloud9 again here.
All right, we have a Cloud9 favored desk, but not 100% this time around. We'll see who is going to be able to take game number 2 in this series. It is about time that once again, I pass it on up to our casters. It's Action Jackson and Denominate.
Thank you very much, Munchables. Game 2 is coming right at you guys. Game 1 was very exciting. We did see some real signs of life out of Impunity in the early game, struggling later on. This time around, compositions are very different from both of these teams. I am expecting a lot of high-octane action, though, with this Koshka coming out from the side of C9.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like that Joseph has got his Koshka, you know, Old School's got his Vox. It's a very strong draft for Cloud9. Iraqi mentioned that Gabe Vizel's Lorelei is very strong, but the composition into what Cloud9 has drafted coming out of Impunity, the Blackfeather and the Rona, can make it very, very difficult for that Koshka to make it through the mid portion of the game, and we'll be getting ready to get into it.
All righty, it's time for game number 2 here. We've got Impunity up against C9. Impunity wanting to make the home crowd feel good here. Cloud9, they looked very strong in game number 1, though. What sort of early game aggression can we expect to see from these compositions? Are we looking for an Elder Treant fight here to kick things off?
Doesn't look like it. It looks like they're both just going to stick to their backs. They want to get, as far as Cloud9 at least, they want to get this Koshka to level 2. That's where she can really start to be a heavy aggressor in the jungle once you have the Twirly Fun and the Pouncy Fun and Twirling Death ready to go.
All right, looks like we do have a pause. We'll get that sorted out for you guys ASAP. In the meantime, we can talk a little bit about how we expect these compositions to function. Obviously, as you were saying, some considerations for this Koshka.
Yeah, the early game should be actually pretty easy for Koshka. She should be able to, in the first 4 or 5 minutes, be able to get into the jungle, steal away a couple camps, start to get a little bit ahead. But as we start trailing, as we start getting to the middle of the mid game, moving into the second portion towards the late game, that's where the Blackfeather and the Rona really start to have an easy time dealing with this Koshka. The fortified health coming out of Rona, the barrier that the Blackfeather is able to provide himself with the on point, and also just the sheer amount of damage that they can bring as well. And Koshka's an assassin. She's very squishy. It does make it a little bit easier for Impunity as the game goes on, but they do have to watch out for Old School. We've seen him time and time again dance around teams, 1v3 the end of a fight, and close things out just because he's so good at building up the stacks on this Vox and keeping himself safe.
So how is Lorelei going to enter the mix here, though? Because it is a hero that is very effective at defending your carry, especially if you're on one of those water pools. You give so much barrier if you echo that water wall.
You absolutely do, which is, going to be one thing that is helpful about, getting I Love Joseph through the mid game. Now, hold on here.
Joseph, he's already going in and getting a little bit of damage down. That was a nice little bit of poke here. Level 2 picked up across both teams on the ones that matter, really. So they're going to be doing some good damage. Engage coming in. That is so much damage coming on to Old School. Rona making some huge plays. Impunity do find themselves first blood here in game number 2. right off the back of that pause.
Yeah, that was perfect execution. They all went in right at the same time. Didn't give Joseph a whole lot of time to think. As we can see, the healing flask didn't even get used. He just died so quickly. And, you know, that's a bit of an edge starting to build for Impunity there. They get first blood, they get the Treant, and they're safely going to be able to rotate through their jungle and get some the gold. But I don't know if, I don't think QC is going to be able to make it down for the ambient. I think he's got to come up to lane as Gabe Vizzle and Old School go ahead and trying to push this one up.
Yeah, they're not able to push it quickly enough to deny too much creeps, though. Kuishi should be fairly fine in picking up those. Notable, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, DefQ is back for Impunity. He was actually subbed out in game number 1, but now he's playing again, and they're looking for Old School. That's a lot of damage right off the bat here, but they can't quite close the distance. Gabe takes some pain as well.
Ooh,
but no
Old
execute.
School.
DefQ has so much damage on those on points right now. Not too long left on the cooldown either, so he can keep putting those out. Joseph trying to start up a Treant, not going to be able to. DefQ actually the one taking the pain from it, though. It works out great for the Joseph. But Kuishi is backing him up. Joseph's got to be careful about committing too hard for a kill here. Does not have the backup of his team just yet.
Well, as long as he doesn't get hit with an on point, he could at least pick up DefQ, but he's going to go ahead and start up this Treant in the middle. Quarterboy and DefQ both a little too low to come try to contest that. That would have been certain death for at least one of them, probably both of them. And that's going to be a little bit of gold going back over to Cloud9, but this is a pretty sizable wave that QC has up here in the lane. And Cloud9 doing what they do best, trying to invade that jungle early, try to get an edge, try to starve out the enemy jungler. And, you know, it's Cloud9. They have really good rotations, but Impunity, their positioning and just their execution is on a very similar, if not greater level.
And one thing you got to take a look at, we mentioned it briefly, but DefQ coming back onto the squad for game number 2 here, you can see the coordination improvements already, to be completely honest. I mean, they've been very much on the same page when they go for these engagements.
Yeah, they absolutely have. I mean, even just looking at that first engagement where they both dove right onto Joseph. Now, Old School taking a little bit of bite here out of this Rona.
DefQ is nearby as well, so if Impunity want to commit, they have the members available. Cloud9 does have 3 as well, however, and Joseph is doing a lot of damage right now.
Yeah, he does. He's got the Eclipse Prism in pocket and another Crystal Bit, so decent.
Ooh. Kuishi's got to be careful. He's actually looking for the turnaround, maybe. Quadravoy, has he gone too far? Flask popped for both Joseph and Quadra there. Playing it safe, but playing with fire.
Yeah, we still have a fountain for Gabe Vizzle and Old School, as well as DefQ over on Impunity, who might get a steal here. Not quite, and now Joseph might be able to find some aggression. Oh, not quite going for it. Thought he would go for it off of the healing camp there, but they're looking for aggression in the lane instead.
Nice stun landing onto Kuishi. That does allow for some damage to come down. He's got to be careful, maybe jump out of there. Exiting the fray. Ooh. Joseph nearly falling to the turret damage. Unfortunately, DefQ not near enough by to maybe go in and execute that one. Old School's quite low on energy, as is Gabe Vizzle, but they're going to keep the push going for now.
Yeah, and you know, we see that big splashdown water pool there coming out of Gabe Vizzle. It's such a useful tool, especially for protecting Old School and Joseph in their passage in and out of fights. Obviously, you get the movement speed for allies as they pass the water, and a slow on enemies, so it can be used to re-engage or disengage the enemy. We'll have to see how it gets used later on. As Joseph now, level 6, this is a key spike for this Kashka, as she has the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. That's a 2.2 second stun that can be used very, very effectively. Blackfeather, pretty low base health and can be squished if he's locked up.
Look at how quickly Joseph made a beeline for the lane after hitting level 6 as well, knowing that it was a window of opportunity, a power spike in which he could maybe find a kill. Unfortunately, Flare spotted him out, and the attack has been repelled for now. In fact, Impunity with some good counterattack damage do jump in, chunk out Old School just a little bit. Those fishes are devouring the turret, though.
Yes, they are indeed, and this is a huge opportunity for the side of Cloud9. DefQ is level 6 now, so he does have the ability to get out of that Yummy Catnip Frenzy. He can prevent that stun, but QC doesn't have a reflex block of his own, so if they do get into a fight, and there is, you know, for example, Rona goes into the red mist, that's a key opportunity for Kashka to come in and get the stun, because it'll cancel out that ability, can't be blocked up, there's no crucible, no reflex, and from there, Cloud9 can focus their attention down, and when Rona's not in that red mist, she's not building fortified health, and can drop when focused.
All right, a couple of big items being picked up here. DefQ now on the Aftershock, notably in that last little engagement as well. Gabe did pop the flask, not going to be available for the next fight. Both teams have a fountain. Gabe not going for that Crucible first build we sometimes see out of Lyra's, even though he's against the Gauntlet potentially. C9 starting to make their way in here. They know this turret is extremely low. One more push could be huge, but Kusi doesn't want to make that happen. Look at the engagement, so much damage right away, but Old School is able to make some distance. Joseph does find that Yummy Catnip Frenzy, buying some time. Juicy very, very low. Red Mist keeps healing him up, however. Old School, he's so close. He's going to go down. DefQ trying to get out of here. Vanguard buying him some time. Joseph, he wants this kill so badly, but he's getting jumped on again. There's so much damage from Impunity. They want a second one, but they can't quite get there. Great fish food coming out of Gabe Bizzle. Stops it in its tracks.
That was absolute perfect timing out of Gabe Bizzle there to save him. And yeah, no Crucible first on Lorelei, so did have that fountain, was able to help Joseph get out of there safely, but unfortunately School did drop, and we'll have to rotate back up here in the lane. Fortunately though, Cloud9 didn't lose out a whole lot of damage on the turret. In fact, they didn't lose anything at all, but now Old School, gotta be careful.
Yeah, gotta be careful about face checking those brushes. He does a lot of damage right now, though. Honestly, not too afraid, even though Gabe doesn't have the mana to back him up. But here comes a counter engage. Old School very low again. This time, they find the counter kill. Quisi's already down. Quadra on the back line trying to jump in. DefQ needs to get just a little closer to Gabe, but a fountain has come off of cooldown. 2 kills for Cloud9. Joseph looking for the execute. 1 or 2 more attacks would do it. There's the fountain cooldown for Impunity, though, and Joseph has gone so far. He's committing for it. It's gonna be the kill, and he unfortunately goes down to the turret, but still, incredible plays coming out of both teams here.
See, that was such a crazy fight in the end. It's Cloud9 picking up that first turret, but Corduroy, beautiful timing on that fountain, was able to draw out Joseph long enough. Let's get into that fight. They jump on, and they're right onto Old School, but meanwhile, Joseph at full health is coming back into the lane. Impunity were all very, very low on health. They were able to find 2 kills, but because DefQ used the Feint of Heart there trying to kill Gabe Bizzle, he was unable to use that Rose offensive to avoid the stun, and it was only a matter of time before Joseph found 1, he found 2, and he found 3.
You know, that fight was very back and forth, quite even at times, but C9 definitely coming out on top, having picked up the turret. The map pressure is in their favor right now. This is forcing some reaction out of Impunity, though. Look at this. They've just popped level 8 infusions, the level 6 and 7 ones of Cloud9 just expiring. If they pick up some more, they can maybe fight, but they've got to be careful about Impunity having that power spike here.
Yeah, they definitely do, especially on the Rona. It just makes her a little bit more tanky. You get the attack speed, you get the weapon power, you get a little bit of armor and shield from it as well. So it's a very good overall item, hence why it only lasts a couple minutes. But you know, it's definitely a huge opportunity where Impunity can turn things around. If they're able to find a kill or 2, they can easily push down a turret in return, even things up. And that's really the opportunity they need to look for. They've looked very, very, in tune with each other as opposed to game 1. And, we're in this point where Koshka is a very aggressive hero, very high damage output, a lot of mobility. But as the game goes on, we're starting to get towards that second item built for DefQ. And that's where things are really going to start to change for what Joseph is able to do in these fights.
We do have that infusion now picked up and in the pockets of Joseph. Cloud9 maybe wanting to go for a fight of their own here. Old School just popped 1-2. Great 3-man stun. That's huge. Buys a lot of space for Joseph to go in. Gauntlet coming out for the counterattack, though. Old School needs to kite back. He's going to find that silence onto all 3 members. It makes a lot of space. Another stun comes out from Gabe Bizzle. Impunity just cannot get on target. Joseph, he's looking to go for that Yummy Catnip Frenzy, but QC does have that reflex block to buy some more space. Joseph wants to get in. Old School has that speed up from Gabe. They're going to find a Treant and another kill. Cloud9 are really turning up the heat.
Gabe Bizzle specifically has really turned things on. These fish foods are so on point, landing multiple stuns several times throughout these fights, and it's really allowed Old School that little bit of safety, because we've seen when DefQ and QC are able to get on him uncontested, it's very quickly a kill going over to Impunity. And now, in this mid-game spike for Koshka, this is where Cloud9 really have to capitalize. They need to use their time effectively, because if you don't, it's only a matter of time before Impunity are able to easily turn things around, and here we go.
Yeah, Impunity trying to do just that right now. Old School might have stayed too long outside the base, but a water wall makes him very tanky, hard to jump on top of. Look at these fish foods. Impunity are perfectly seasoned. Delicious.
Definitely some good plays here, but now Impunity, they might be looking for some aggression on the turret if they can find some time for it.
Look at these stuns. They're allowing Joseph to just walk in, get the love tap, get back out. He finds another kill. He's looking for more too. QC does have reflex block again, but Quadravoix is very low off the back of this. Cloud9 take 2 kills. Joseph wants to keep going. He's looking for Quichi. Doesn't quite find him though. Can he get one more jump in? He's going to be able to. Reflex block keeps him alive. Joseph is an absolute monster.
That is all about knowing your hero and knowing your limitations. Jumps in with the reflex block to live. Another stun out of Gabe Vizzle here.
Yeah, Fountain Pop to keep Joseph kind of healthy here. He's trying to back away. Water Wall buying him some space. Old School's got to do the kiting though. DefQ manages to get on the back line. This could be bad news for Cloud9. 1 kill already picked up. Old School, he's trying to find some kind of redemption here. He does have a lot of damage. Good breaking point stacks. But now with Koichi back as well, it's going to be 2 kills to Impunity. Cloud9 overstayed their welcome.
Yeah, overstaying. And again, Impunity is a team that if you make a mistake, they are going to make sure you know you made a mistake. They do it right there, find 2 kills. They might even have time to get some damage down on this turret. It is only Gabe Vizzle, but Gabe Vizzle and this Lorelei has been landing these stuns consistently and may be able to buy enough time.
Yeah, you can see, lands another one. He just chunked out like 25% of the jungler's health as the captain with no damage items. This is ridiculous. Cloud9 are playing some seriously good Vainglory right now, and Joseph wants to keep that ball rolling. Trying to walk up to Impunity, doesn't find the opportunity, but they can't always fall back, find that gold mine here.
Yeah, they definitely can, and DefQ needs to get some farm under his belt here. He's only sitting on the Aftershock at 13 minutes in this game. He's not horribly far behind in CS. I mean, there is a pretty sizable amount difference, but it's not like, you know, the 70 versus 13 we've seen in day 1 when Koshka was able to just get so drastically ahead. It's very, very close, where now Joseph, he has a tier 3 complete in that Aegis for defense. He has the tier 2 boots. He has an Aftershock. He has a broken myth, and DefQ is sitting quite substantially far behind. He either needs to get a alternating current, or I mean, Atlas Pauldron online to get onto Old School, or complete a second offensive item. And he goes with the broken myth there. So they're looking to be in a better spot here now. There's a lot of gold sitting in DefQ's pocket unspent.
We've also got Quisi actually picking up a Shiver Steel here, and Quadravoix picking up an Echo. So there are some more utility items coming in for Impunity. Should help them control the landscape of these fights a little bit better. The question is that going to matter when Joseph can just jump past everyone and nuke a target on the back line?
Well, the whole idea of Impunity's comp is not to ever be on the backline, but Gabe is another stun there.
Oh, Old School is pretty split from his team this time around. Silence coming out, not doing too much. Water Wall does buy him a lot of time, and a great ultimate out of Joseph manages to lock down Quadr. Now the turnaround is here. C9, they're looking for more, but Red Mist is healing up. Quisi is not going to be enough, though. Joseph and Old School are going to annihilate Impunity. It's another ace for Cloud9. They're looking very strong here, Denomine.
Yeah, they absolutely are. It was just a sea of splashdown that Gabe Vizzle left before he died. Let's get into this replay a little bit, because another good stun coming out of Gabe Vizzle buys time for Joseph to get in, and the Red Mist comes out onto Old School, but the boots proc and the stun coming out of Joseph is allowing him to separate himself from Impunity. And now there's that sea, there's that water that the Lorelei's been able to put down, slowed down the engage coming out of Impunity. They weren't able to continue their chase onto Old School, so instead they turn their attention onto Gabe Vizzle. They do pick up 1 kill, but they end up dropping all 3 for an ace, and Cloud9 take another edge.
And look at these power spikes coming through. We got a bone saw for Old School. Joseph just picked up so much defensive stats. Gabe's working his way towards an Echo. That's going to be huge when it lands. Cloud9 are very dominant right now, sitting almost 10,000 gold ahead. Impunity is going to need to work some magic to come back into this game. Denominate, where should they start, though? Where's their opening?
Their opening is they really have to find a fight where, you know, maybe Joseph and Old School are a little bit too far apart to make the engagement together. They need to get on. They need to get a Shiver Steel onto Old School, but
Kraken Steel could do it. Maybe Impunity want to make that happen. Not quite going to, though. Joseph jumping in onto the front line. Old School, he's going to have to kite this Rona. Gauntlet does make it a little bit difficult, but he's got that reflex block. Here comes Gauntlet number 2, but Old School's already well far away from DefQ, making the space happen. Here comes another attempt. A jumping onto the back line, but a good fish food, not quite going to be enough. In fact, Joseph is way too low on energy to chase as well. Impunity do a good job of minimizing this Kraken attempt. Joseph actually got to be careful of going down here as well, thinking that stun's going to land. It doesn't quite do it. Water wall not going to be needed there. Doesn't end up buying him too much time. Joseph, why is he jumping in again? Cloud9 are attempting to gift an ace to Impunity. They're going to give it to the Sentry instead. Impunity managing to make a huge play there. Still got to take down this Kraken, but that's a start.
Yeah, it definitely is a start. What worked so well for them in that fight, we were talking just a couple minutes ago about, DefQ really needs to get an Atlas Pauldron online because it's so easy for him to get onto this box. It was QC that has completed an Atlas Pauldron now, and he was able to land it onto Old School in that last fight. That bought them a little bit of time that Old School wasn't able to ramp up and get the damage out, and that's where they were able to execute him. They were able to get him before he scaled out of control, and then off the back of that ace, they stopped the Kraken without losing a single turret. They've lost most of one, but it still stands.
I mean, you have to imagine that Cloud9 made the play they did, choosing to give away an ace with the expectation that Kraken would be impactful in the base by itself, and that would be a trade worth making. It certainly was not in this situation, and as a result, Impunity have closed the gap considerably, now sitting only 5,000 gold behind. At this late stage in the game, it's not quite chump change, but it's certainly not that impactful.
It's definitely not, especially as all these builds are getting closer and closer to completion. There's that second Atlas Pauldron now complete from Impunity onto DefQ. Cordovoy will probably work on one for himself as well. And, again, that's where their real opportunity is. Kashka is at the point in the game that she is not the big impact that she was. She definitely still provides a lot of damage, but not quite the way she once did. It's all about Old School building up the breaking point stacks, shredding the armor with the bone saw that he's picked up as well, and that's where he's able to be that hyper carry that the team needs. If they drop Old School early on, it should be Impunity finding the rest of the fight thereafter.
We have a good amount of gold in a few people's pockets here, so what are they going to be landing next? Old School and Gabe both sitting on around 1,300. Kwesi's got 1,500 in the bank. These last couple of items are definitely going to be influential here, but I think the bigger question is, okay, Cloud9, how are they going to keep the pressure on and stop Impunity from catching up?
Well, it's definitely difficult. They need to pick a good fight, and if Impunity keeps forcing fights, then it's not really on Cloud9's decision-making for that to happen. So they need to play it a little bit carefully here now that Koshka's falling off. They need to pick a fight that School is comfortable in, whereas Impunity, they're doing the exact opposite. They want to make School as uncomfortable as possible, and QC's Shiver Steel makes that incredibly easy to do.
Yeah, nice attempt at an engage there. DefQ does get stunned up as well. Cloud9 fishing for an opportunity. We did have a couple of big items picked up right before Cloud9 moved in. Aegis for Old School. Gabe Vizzle's got an Echo now. That in the last fight could have been huge as Old School did get capitalized on, jumped on the back line. Later on here, they've got control of the jungle shop too, so Infusion's fresh out of the shop for Cloud9. Are they going to choose an opportunity here to go in? It's very scary against Impunity right now, having lost that last fight. Can't feel too good as Cloud9.
Yeah, Cloud9, they may be up 3 additional turrets over Impunity, but we're at the point in the game, coming up on 20 minutes, these death timers are getting extremely long, and if they drop a single mistake against Impunity, and Impunity is able to capitalize on it, they can make short work of what's left of Cloud9's base. Probably not enough to close out the game, just because there is so much for them to go through. But, I mean, getting that additional gold in their pockets could help DefQ and QC finish up these builds, as we're still looking for an Aegis on each and Tier 3 boots on DefQ.
QC over the wall here is trying to be a little bit sneaky, I feel, looking for an opportunity to jump on and engage in Cloud9. Cloud9 not going to fall for the bait, though. Things have slowed down considerably in Game 2 of this third-place match. We're at 20 minutes, very even across the board. The gold lead really not telling the whole story here for Cloud9. No one wants to take the risk of going for a crack and forcing a fight when the last couple have been so volatile and could have really gone either way.
Yeah, they definitely have. And, when we look at the scoreboard doesn't tell the whole story either. Old School's put out a lot of damage, but it's Joseph that's been able to chase down those really long, drawn-out fights, able to lock down those kills, as well as Gabe Vizzle. I mean, I wish there was a counter on the screen for how many stuns he has landed with the fish food. But, he's been doing such a good job of controlling the movement that Impunity is able to make, and we might be looking for a fight here over the Kraken and Joseph.
Old School's got a second big defensive item after that last rotation by the jungle shop as well. Very difficult to take down Vox right now with all the support he has. I feel like C9 knows they're in a good spot right now. Look at the amount of poke they found onto DefQ as well. Makes it quite difficult for Impunity with no real healing to look for an engagement. C9 do take position on the map. We need some more scout traps from Gabe, though, so they can back up and actually capitalize on this. Looks like for now, they're just going to look for even more gold. Play it safe.
Well, they had to play it safe because they didn't have vision on DefQ, but they did have it on Court d'Ivoire and QC, so they knew the presence of Impunity was there. What they missed was DefQ behind in his back, so was able to recall and hit up the shop. Then, since Cloud9 had the control of the jungle shop, and he's topped off on health, ready to go, Fish Food just misses.
Yeah, but I think C9 wants this fight. They've got some new infusions. Joseph already quite low, and actually a gauntlet stun lands on the Old School. That's bad news for them. Impunity jump on, find a kill to Joseph. Cloud9, their focus wavers for just a second, and Impunity capitalizes.
Yeah, it was perfect placement from Court d'Ivoire there on the gauntlet. Got a stun onto Old School. QC was able to catch up and get an outspot round. We'll get into it right now. Cloud9, they poked their heads out a little bit too far. There's the gauntlet. Perfect execution. Stun. The gauntlet does not get reflex blocked. The second gauntlet would have killed Koshka, but instead Rona's going to go ahead and pick that one up. 2 kills going over to Impunity, both going over to QC. Old School will make it out alive, but again, as we mentioned, the Koshka's falling off. Old School,
Old School, what are you doing this far from your base? It's going to be an easy kill for Impunity. Old School has no way out. It's an ace, a very delayed ace for Impunity here in front of their home crowd in Singapore. They're looking to even up this series. They're trying to make this push happen with a massive Kraken take here at 22 minutes.
Yeah, they're going to take that extra couple seconds they had off the ace. They've gone down, got the chance to shop. They've topped off their infusions. And now here with the Kraken, they're ready to march and push down. And it's not looking like there's much Cloud9 can do. Again, Koshka has just fallen off, and it's all about DefQ and QC at this point.
It sounds like the drums of war here in the Kallang Theater. Impunity fans sending their love to their team as they push in. C9 don't have Old School for 4 more seconds, not even thinking about defending that turret, but Impunity playing it quite safe. They don't look for anything past number 2 here. Just going to back away into the jungle and try and choke out some more resources, take down some sentries, slowly wear Cloud9 down.
I think it's smart of them to just go ahead and pull off and look for one more favorable fight. If you try to force too much there, if you dive too far, which we see so many times with teams, they get a little bit too ahead of themselves on this Kraken. They've only got a turret and a prayer left in their base. That second turret only has a sliver of health. If they give up a couple kills, it's only a matter of time. It'll be Cloud9 rushing down in the base and close things out. So they're doing it safe. They want to look for one more fight. They know they have the tools to beat Cloud9 at this point, especially if Court d'Ivoire keeps up the brilliant plays on this Arden. And we'll just, it's only a matter of time. Joseph has completed a Dragon's Eye, which is a little bit interesting on Koshka, as she's very in and out of the fight.
Seems a little optimistic, though, after that last fight where he kind of got wiped out in the matter of seconds.
It feels that way. It definitely feels that way. So we'll have to see. I almost would have liked to see Joseph go with an extra pair of War Treads, just for that extra mobility for School to try to help him get out of sticky situations. And Impunity, they're going to be looking for one more fight and try to even things up here in this series.
Yeah, this is tough times for Cloud9. They're a bit on the back foot here. DefQ also picking up some more damage for himself in the form of that alternating current, this time after the broken myth that you were talking about last game. Impunity, I feel like maybe a good option for them here is just to start focusing on sentries. Make it so the points of safety that Cloud9 can back away to during Kraken engagements don't exist outside of their base. Make it so they have to go all the way back if they want to get back to safety.
That definitely could be as Cloud9, they're down here in the jungle. They could be looking to rotate up and find a fight on their terms here. QC.
Oh, Joseph, he's thinking about going in here. DefQ gets stunned up. That could be big, but a good reflex comes out onto the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Impunity playing very scared right now, backing away. They don't want to give up a fight here, but here comes the turnaround. They stun Old School again. That is huge. Water Wall buys him some time, though. DefQ is very, very low. Quadavois trying to stay on to Old School, but he doesn't have the backup of the team. Here comes Rona. Red Mist could be huge if he just gets there, but a stun from Gabe again. These have been so impactful. Queasy just won't die, though. Old School is a second Water Wall. The Echo doing so much work for Gabe. Somehow C9 bring it back. They gotta get this ASO quarter. Can he find a kill onto Old School maybe? No, not gonna happen. Not enough damage. Another stun. C9. They've only got 2 turrets to push through. How much can they take here, Denominate?
They're looking for it here. They've got plenty of time to definitely push for the win on this one. They do only have 15 seconds or so left on DefQ, so he should be up reasonably soon, but it shouldn't be in time. Gabe Vizzle and Old School, I think they're going to close this one out, but DefQ's up, turrets are down.
He's going to try and make it happen. He's got to get in here. Old School with the Water Wall is so tanky, though. There's just no way. Impunity, this game was so close to being theirs, but Cloud9 are trying to end things right here, right now. Queasy's up. He's looking for the kill. It's not going to be there. Cloud9 take game number 2. They're 1 win away from being our 3rd place team.
Yeah, it was definitely good execution there out of Cloud9. Impunity had everything going their way. Even in that last fight, they got the stun. They've got an Atlas down onto Old School. Unfortunately, DefQ was not able to stick onto target. The Water Wall coming through from Gabe Vizzle gave Old School that additional survivability. It came down so close as well. I mean, we were wondering if Quadavois was going to be able to bring Old School down and save the game. A sliver of health would have done it. And what a crazy game. Cloud9 take game number 2.
That was absolutely nuts. Impunity probably kicking themselves for not being a bit more decisive right at the end there, but I'm sure our analysts have some words on that game. We could be heading into our final one, so let's hand it on over to them.
Cloud9 managing to pull it out in the 11th hour of that game. I was sure that was going the way of Impunity. Cloud9 owned the early game, or more specifically, I Love Joseph owned the early game. But he dominated on that Koshka. 2 triple kills in the early game. But then Impunity battled their way back in until that final team fight, and that was just a masterclass coming out from Cloud9. The mechanics in that last fight were just insane.
Yeah, I mean, the mechanics coming up from Old School and Gabe Vizzle. I said this guy is an incredible Lorelei. Watch out for it. And you can see how well he can use his abilities to both lock down his opponents and then keep his teammates protected enough just so that they can clean up the team fights. Beautiful plays all around from Cloud9 to win the second game.
Yeah, absolutely. We can take a look at one of the replays from that game because there was a lot of team fights and a lot of incredibly highlight moments across the course of this second game of the series. You can see this is Impunity trying to siege onto Cloud9's turret.
Yeah, this is where it turns around for Cloud9. Impunity makes a mistake. They get a little too aggressive, and then they're trying to get a fight. But you can see Joseph's Koshka is just so dominant. This entire game has been the story of his Koshka just destroying Impunity in terms of the early game to the mid game. And look at the plays here. The reflex block comes out, and boom, they get the ace. And this puts Cloud9 at a nice 10K gold lead into the 14-minute mark. And then from there, the comeback happens. And then the 10K gold lead becomes 5, becomes 3K. And Impunity definitely gave a nice fight. But in the end, Cloud9 took the match.
And one of the things that we always see from Cloud9, but don't necessarily get to talk about too much, is their small decisions in situations like that. You saw when they were going for that final kill, they left Joseph to take care of it on his own, while Gabe Vizzle and Old School both just sat there and pushed up the wave so that as soon as that final kill came through, they had the ace buff minions right on top of the turret in order to follow up immediately with objectives.
Absolutely. We can take a look at another replay from later on in that game. And honestly, you could pick just about any of the team fights. So Zoro, talk me through this one.
Yeah, I mean, this one was later on in the game when they were trying to close out the game. The gauntlet drops very nicely, stuns and locks down Old School, but the waterfall coming from Lorelei, keeping him protected. The second gauntlet drops this time not as well, and they managed to secure the kill on Black Feather in the midst of all the action. Old School still alive. Rona chasing him for such a long time, unable to finish the kill because of Gabe Vizzle as Lorelei and another waterfall comes out because he has a clockwork. So the more abilities he spams, the more they come, or the quicker they come off cooldown. And this is another one of those small decisions, Tasty Bacon. They waited until they made sure that Old School wouldn't die to the Arden when face checking that bush, so that they could close out the game right there. Had Old School died, and then they got the ace with the Lorelei, they wouldn't have been able to finish the game. So really heads up play by C9.
Yeah, I just want to add 3 splashdown pulls. This is the power Lorelei with an infusion and the clockwork that I was talking about in the late game. A well-played Lorelei Gabe Vizzle just made it shine. And all the fish food stunts he got, 3-man stuns, 2 Arden stuns, etc. Just amazing plays by Gabe.
At the same time, how close this game was to getting turned back towards Impunity. That last gauntlet, if that lands a stun from the second gauntlet, this team fight is over in favor of Impunity, and they can push to win instead. But just those small, tiny little things, it was right on the edge. It was not like he whiffed completely. It was a narrow miss.
Yeah, I mean, and Black for the CP, getting onto Def Q, he came back into the roster for this second game. Definitely seems like the team plays around him better, and the CP Black for them made a huge showing. The reason why they kept on coming back into the game, because once he hit his item power spikes later on, they had enough power strength to team fight against C9.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, the later on in the game we got, it felt like the stronger this Black Feather and Rona became. And it was getting to a point towards the later stages that I didn't think Cloud9 were going to be able to win any more team fights. We saw Impunity win a couple in a row. We saw them get the Kraken. I thought that was the point at which Impunity had managed to lock this one down.
Yeah, when Quartervar got that double gauntlet, he trapped Koshka, and Koshka, Joseph went in the direction of the Rona Blood Mist ultimate, and he took so much damage. And another gauntlet, the second gauntlet comes out and stuns him right there, and then Rona picks up the kill. That was an amazing play by Impunity, winning that crucial fight in the late game.
Absolutely. Now, before we jump on into the next draft of this series, I want to remind you guys about Mineski.net. They've been helping us out to run this event, and they can help you out as well. If you've been missing out on any of the action, if you're wanting to keep up, or if you're wanting a little bit of extra insight in anything that's been going on across the course of Vainglory World Championship, head over to Mineski.net. They'll be able to fill you in with all the gory details. But it's about time we start to talk about game number 3, because Cloud9 are 2-0 up in this series. They are on the cusp of locking in that 3rd place position, and now they're over to the A side once more.
Yeah, onto the A side, and so now Impunity is going to have a pretty difficult decision when it comes time for their ban, because there are so many picks that you want to prevent Cloud9 from having. I do still think that their best bet is to just take the Churnwalker off the board like they did in game number 2, though.
Yeah, for sure. Churnwalker on Gabe is just broken. I mean, every captain he plays is so strong, and a smart play by Churnwalker. And I think here they will probably either take the Vox or the Arden and deny that Arden pick that Impunity loves so much. It's by far the captain they play the most of out of all 4 days of this competition.
The other thing they could do is pick up the Koshka, then ban the Baptiste, but that's going to be risky because you can get countered with a Rona pick that Impunity can pick up very easily, since they have 2 more remaining before it goes back to Cloud9 on the B side. So Cloud9, like we said, most likely a Vox or an Arden here, or even go back to the Lorelei if they really are feeling confident with that pick.
All right, we'll see what they do lean on towards. I would not be surprised to see the Vox coming out from Cloud9. It's something that they are very confident on. But it's also, I feel like historically we've talked about Vox being somewhat of a crutch for Cloud9, but I don't feel like that's been the case across the course of this tournament. I feel like Old School has really stepped up and shown that Vox is not, he's not a one-trick pony. This guy has a deep hero pool.
A lot of hesitation coming out from Cloud9, spending 30 seconds of their bonus time already on the first pick to then just pick up the Vox that we all know they're going to pick up. So shaky start to the draft by Cloud9, but they do get the Vox onto the Old School, performed so incredibly well with the last game, and he just excels on this hero because of the mobility it brings out, allowing him to stutter step and dance around the team fights.
Yeah, well, like Arden picked up here and then potentially ban away Koshka, and then Cloud9 will probably ban away the Baptiste, and Impunity should play their draft that they're so good with, is that Celeste Cruel combination that we could see come out. And if they have Baptiste open, a weapon power Baptiste would work really well too. I would love to see them play that comp again because they excel on a Celeste composition.
Yeah, the Celeste comp's definitely something that works for Impunity quite well, but they're going to stick to this Arden first pick. This is what they've done all series long thus far. It has been pretty much their biggest priority throughout the entire World's tournament, so not all that surprising to see that that's where they go with their first selection.
And let's see if this Koshka ban is going to come out, because Koshka Vox was a competition they just lost to in the last game. So if memory serves them right, the Koshka will be banned here.
Yep, taking that one off the table. They do not want I Love Joseph on the Koshka. Rona will be the answer though from Cloud9, and now Impunity have to choose their second hero.
I like that ban quite a bit. QC actually performed really well on the Rona last game. So many team fights, they got so close to finishing the first target, which was Vox, and had they done that easily at that point, Rona with the breaking point had been stacked, they could have carried on winning the team fight. So Cloud9 want to avoid that tough matchup, the Vox versus the Rona.
So let's see if this Baptiste is going to come out here, or are they going to opt with the Cruel. But I think Baptiste will make the most sense, because if they pick Cruel, Cloud9 is going to counter it completely with a Petal pick here, because we saw Joseph play Petal on day one and excelled with it against their competition.
Yeah, I think it makes most sense to grab yourself either a laner or just something that's flexible here with this selection. Save that final pick for a counter, but they are going to grab themselves the Baptiste. This is something that we've seen Impunity run, both Weapon and Crystal, so it is a little bit of a flex pick for them coming into this next game.
Yeah, so now that they think Celeste will come out, Cloud9 can pick the Catherine and pick like a Reza mobile here that can get onto the Celeste, and that will be a nice combination for Cloud9, because Catherine is so good into Arden and Celeste.
Obviously, Lorelei is still open for Cloud9 though, and with Vox, they played it very well.
Ooh,
that Petal pick into the Baptiste. It does.
Wow.
Her minions do block his bad mojo, but at the same time, as you go on into the late game, they could get eliminated very easily because of the AoE damage, especially with the fearsome shades. So they will need to really abuse the mid-game power spikes that it has.
And even more so if Impunity do decide to round this out with a Celeste, this composition we have seen them run before, just protect the Celeste with a Baptiste and an Arden. It works very well for them. So the Petal pick is definitely going to be a little bit risky.
Yeah, I think Gabe would probably opt for the Catherine. Oh, Lorelei instead of the Catherine, and that leaves open Celeste here. And I think with Celeste, they have to dive on her completely with Lorelei, supporting with the splashdown, Petal with the jump to close the distance, and Vox are all good at diving onto the Celeste here. But you have Arden and Baptiste who are so good at anti-diving.
I would like to see Impunity go for the CP Baptiste here instead of the weapon power, just because against this double range composition will be really hard to play the weapon power Baptiste.
And in that scenario,
in that scenario, you would want to pick up the Baron or the Kestrel here for QC in the lane, having a weapon power laner with the jungle Baptiste. But instead, they're still going to go for the Celeste.
Still locking in that Celeste, and a whole lot of protection for it as well from Impunity. Gabe looking super serious. Just kidding. He's ready to get into game number 3. They're feeling good after 2 wins. How are we feeling about this game, gents?
The one thing I do want to touch on real quick is that the Celeste coming through does not guarantee that this is a weapon Baptiste. They have run it both ways with this exact composition.
And they've run it with a Clockwork Echo Baptiste, so a full utility Baptiste with a hyper carry Celeste.
Yeah, and I think that may be the case, and makes a lot of sense because of the AoE damage. Also, weapon Baptiste could work too, because if Vox tries to dive and he's on that Vox, he will stack very quickly with the Poison Shift Breaking Point build. And once he gets empowered, he has a 35% damage amp on his basic attacks.
All right, well, it's about time that we head towards this game number 3 in our 3rd place best of 5. Cloud9 are 2-0 up. Now that we have our compositions locked in, who is going to be able to take this one?
I want to go for Impunity because that's their bread and butter composition, and I would like to see them at least take 1 game.
All right, Tasty Bacon.
I want to see Impunity win, but unfortunately, I think Cloud9 is going to be able to take this one.
All right.
I'm going to go with Impunity. Cloud9's early game aggression has been not up to par, and with this composition that they need to abuse that power spike, snowball the game, I feel like they're not going to be able to execute, and the late game of Celeste will take over with Impunity.
All right, well, we started with a 3-0 to Cloud9 on the analyst test. Then it was 2-1 to Cloud9. It's now 2-1 to Impunity. My analysts are being swayed. Let's find out if the games will go the way as well. It's time to pass it back up to AJ and Denominate for game 3 of this best of 5.
Oh boy, this is going to be a good game as well. We have some interesting compositions coming in. Some heroes picked that these players are very strong on. We've seen a lot of interesting plays come out this game. Game 2 was very close to going the other way. I feel like Impunity are amped up, but Cloud9 are feeling good after their 2 wins in a row. It honestly could go either way.
Yeah, Cloud9's got to be feeling good after the late game Koshka win, as things were definitely turning around for Impunity very quickly there. I do like the composition both these teams have set up. They have really neat interactions with each other. You know, the Celeste very good at zoning away the enemies who are ranged, as well as, you know, Old School just on his Vox.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this could be our final game of the third place match. The last chance for Impunity, possibly, to show up in front of their home Singapore crowd. Let's see if Cloud9 can lock things down or if Impunity can start swaying things back in their favor. So far, not too much crazy going on. Cloud9 looking for an early Elder Treant here. Unless Quatava can find some kind of a seal. It's not going to happen, though.
Not even going to try it. Not into the Petal, the Vox, and the Lorelei all there, whereas Impunity, they did do their back rotations and are now looking to just get back into the lane, get some farming done. Level 2 on QC. And Court d'Ivoire on this Arden is going to be really huge to me. You know, we have to see if he's able in the late game to help Celeste position on the back of the fight, you know, help create distance, because, you know, that's Celeste's real strong suit. Once Celeste hits level 8, you get the overdrive on your Heliogenesis. It increases your range, but if you're being dove on, if the fight is within that range, then you're not able to abuse that advantage. You're not able to get good poke down. So it's going to come all down to the positioning of Celeste if they want to be able to close this game out in the late game.
Looks like we're going to be seeing a double crystal power composition coming out of Impunity. This is something they've shown a propensity for running before, but is it going to be good against Cloud9 and what they've got here? Core Collapse does lock down Joseph. Impunity managed to find themselves that Treant. Nice little pickup early in the game, keeping things on an even keel for Impunity.
Yeah, Quisi back up here in the lane here on Celeste, trying to not miss out on any of these CS. Looked like he actually got it all, so good on him. Is now Old School and Gabe is in the lane as well. A couple crystal bits here on Joseph. It does appear that Quisi and DefQ are both going down the crystal power route, as that Baptiste does have those 2 crystal bits, looking to possibly go into that Shatter Glass for the first item, as well as obviously Crystal Jungle Petal on the side of Cloud9. We know for a while they were running the Weapon Power Petal in the lane. Not this time around.
No, not this time, Cloud9. Sticking to having Joseph on that Petal. He has really done a good job on that hero in the past, so I'm sure Cloud9 feels confident about it. Gabe Visual already setting up for this Treant. They got the timer on it. Pulling it onto their side will make it a bit easier for Cloud9 to take, but Impunity actually draws the aggro. With DefQ making his way down here, it's going to be hard for Cloud9 to steal. They're going to try and do it. Not quite going to happen. Going the way of Quisi, Impunity find a second Treant of the game. That actually brings the gold to even here for Impunity.
Back to even, as these players are going to go ahead. Actually, Quisi is going to bypass getting the ambient gold in the backs with DefQ as he sees Old School's trying to push the wave up. Does get the Treant and then rotates up into the lane. Ooh, that Supernova just missed. And that's something that Old School is going to have to be careful out. He has picked up some early shield, but even then, Celeste, once she gets into the late game, is so good at just bursting through any defense you've built. And it's you know, one of Quisi's signature heroes, realistically.
Let's talk about something Arakizora mentioned on the analyst desk. Cloud9, he said their aggression hasn't quite been up to the expectations that he had heading into this series. They've got Petal in the early game, something which can do a lot of damage. Do we need to see a little bit more out of Cloud9? You can see they're starting to posture more aggressively. Ordain comes down to keep the Impunity safe, though. Joseph just buying time for this Treant. Do we need to see more aggression and more focused aggression out of Cloud9 in the early game?
After Joseph gets his next shop, once he does get to spend this 1,000 gold, he will likely start trying to take more of these half rotations out of DefQ's jungle. But now Gabe is looking to set up some vision over there so he can help with the respawns, get some vision of DefQ coming on over, who now has the chronograph, and Quisi has picked up the Dragon's Eye for the first item.
Very early.
So yeah, definitely going for those long, drawn-out fights, able to ramp that item up pretty easily with the Celeste.
All right, Cloud9 haven't found too many windows of opportunity to make plays happen here, but they are farming up very nicely. Even farm across Old School and Quisi means a breaking point first for him. He's going to be making his way back up the lane with that. You can see Joseph hitting level 6, already using Spontaneous Combustion, mostly just to get some poke damage in here. Ooh, Fish Food not quite going to connect this time around, though. Gabe Visual, such a monster with those last game. Looking to continue that path here.
Yeah, definitely looking to do so. Old School has...
That's more like it.
Old School has completed the breaking point for his first item, which is a little bit untraditional. We've seen boxes mostly going for the Poison Shiv first item, and then either into a Sorrow Blade or into a breaking point second, whereas I think Old School might be going for the breaking point double monocle build that we saw once upon a time ago, which is very good into Celeste, actually. If you're able to dive onto her quickly, because she's going to have limited defense, having to defend against Old School and Joseph, and is going to be going 4 offensive items, it can be very easy for Old School to build up those breaking point stacks. And especially if Gabe Vizzle is landing these stuns consistently with the fish food as he has been, that may even force Quisi to go into a reflex block to try to avoid getting locked up.
This does mean no Poison Shiv early for Deft Q, though, and the sustain from a Baptiste is nothing to sniff at. It can be quite strong. C9, talking about aggression, though, starting to make some plays forward here, looking to steal away a camp. They don't find it, though. It is going to be defended by Impunity, doing a good job of mitigating what Cloud9 is able to accomplish here in the early game.
Yeah, Shatterglass complete for I Love Joseph, and DefQ has actually completed the Clockwork first. So not a lot of raw damage coming out of him. Looking for just getting more hits out as opposed to those hits being incredibly potent, as now Joseph trying to turn things around a little bit.
Yeah, DefQ was trying to set up a play there where maybe a core collapse could come down after the Ordained stopped Joseph from having the freedom of movement he would like, but it's not quite going to pan out. Gabe, unfortunately, very low on energy. Going to stop Cloud9 from doing anything very proactive right now. Old School's got to be careful. That's the core collapse play we were talking about, but already a reflex block coming through. You can see Quisi even committing a Solar Storm to that. Very aggressive play out of Impunity. Kind of a set piece there. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. Old School isn't a bad spot. Good fear coming out. But Water Wall and Flask buy some time. Now Joseph's entering the fray. He's looking for Depth Q. Flask is going to keep him healthy, and Joseph actually jumped, I believe, into an Ordain wall there. Both teams battered and bruised, but backing off. Not wanting to risk anything too early in this game.
Yeah, definitely not, especially with Gabe Vizzle as low on energy as he is. He's going to have to recall here to base, top off his health, top off his energy pool so that he can be the impact that he needs to be in the next fight. He does have the Fountain complete as well as a Crucible. No boots yet on this Lorelei, though. And looking over at Court of Wa, he has the Fountain complete, but not quite at the Crucible. He has gone into some armor to try to prevent Old School from building stacks on this Arden while he's on the front line and try to give Quisi and DefQ a little bit more time. And, this build on DefQ is all about keeping Celeste alive. They're putting all their eggs into the Quisi basket so that this...
Whoa, Old School. That's a lot of damage. He's going to have to walk into the wall, but the Fear doesn't actually land. Fearsome Shade goes wide, only lands onto the teammates of Old School. So Cloud9 don't lose too much there. Keep in mind, by the way, Quisi picking up around 7 minutes. An Eve of Harvest. So now 2 tier 3 items able with the energy regeneration to siege this turret. Impunity looking very good in the early game.
Yeah, again, when Quisi is rotating down to the jungle with DefQ, they're quite often actually giving the Celeste the farm because, again, it's all the eggs into one basket. You're looking for this Celeste to be a hyper carry. The Baptiste is more...
Joseph, that's a core collapse on top of him. He's going to have to jump away. Water Wall does a good job of keeping him a little bit topped off. Old School gets stunned by the Ordained again, though. These Ordains have been doing massive work for Impunity. DefQ keeping C9 where Impunity wants them.
Yeah, definitely are, and if a Celeste is left alone here in the lane, this could be a turret possibly going down for Impunity. Old School not able to clear these minions out quick enough. One more will do as Impunity take the first little lead here as far as objectives go, but Cloud9 still slightly in the gold lead.
Keep in mind, Impunity playing in front of their home crowd here in Singapore. Definitely want to put on a good show. This is possibly their last opportunity to do so. You can see them tightening up a little bit in game number 3. They look like they have a plan, and they know exactly how to execute on it. Cloud9, however, haven't shown their cards very much yet. They haven't really done anything that's been very aggressive or very much designed to force Impunity into a bad spot. What are they waiting for here, Dename? Do they need one more Tyrant's Monocle on Old School?
Need to be getting into it for sure. They might even be looking for a fight now before Celeste gets too ahead of herself, as Old School and Joseph have picked up infusions.
Yeah, and this choke point, Impunity do need to be careful of spontaneous combustion, but still, good ability to turn around and poke back with the long range on those bad mojos and Solar Storms. We'll have to see what happens here. Def Q is getting chunked out. Old School wants to jump in, but here comes the counterattack. Impunity, they might try and go in. Def Q's got to be healed up by the fountain. Old School wants more, but he's gone pretty far forwards. Needs a fountain of his own. Impunity managing to get back. Quadavois forced to use that gauntlet defensively. Again, both teams taking a lot of damage, using a lot of resources, but not getting any kills. We're 0-0 at 10 minutes into this game.
Yeah, and it's not because the aggression haven't been there. You know, these teams have been running into each other, just nobody's been comfortable enough to find a kill. And Joseph was in a rough spot, a 1v3, but because Def Q and Quadavois are too low, they couldn't execute on it.
Yeah, it was a very dicey position there. You could see Impunity thinking, oh, maybe we can go in. Old School's not here. But unfortunately for them, a lot of that damage from Joseph, very easy to land. It just comes from the Munion's basic attacking. Def Q had a tough time getting into position there. Honestly, this game's incredibly tense to nominate. Either team looking for an opportunity to just break away with a big lead. Even with that turret picked up early from Impunity here, keep in mind gold lead slightly favoring C9. They're doing a great job of farming, controlling jungle, having good rotations. They're not missing many minions. That is obviously going to be massive here when it comes to looking for the gold difference. Gabe! He's very low, but Cloud9 do secure that gold mine. Impunity, I like Queasy trying to take it, though. You know, they're not really showing that they want to go for any crazy fights. Why not use some resources to try and pick that up?
Well, they don't really have to go for any fights at this point. You know, again, Celeste's range allows her to farm a wave very effectively and safely. Also allows to zone out the enemy, especially the short range coming out of the Vox. And now with Queasy sitting on the Dragon's Eye, Eve of Harvest, and Broken Myth, as well as a level 11 infusion to pass on once this level 9 burns out, they definitely have an opportunity they could win a fight.
Joseph is in a weird position here, but they do kind of have a flank on Impunity. Maybe they can go for it. Def Q taking a lot of damage. Silence is going to actually land on all three. Old School through the gauntlet wall looking for Queasy. Queasy is so low. He's just barely healing up. It's not going to be enough. Cloud9 draw first blood. They're looking for more. Quadavois goes down. C9 breaking away with a lead in this game.
Yeah, and this is why you can never sleep on Cloud9. Impunity took the objective lead early, but just like that, Cloud9 turned things around, and now Def Q, you're in a rough spot.
Yeah, Def Q's got to get out of here. Fish Food not going to connect. Def Q's just trying to turn around and do some good damage, but it's not really there. He does find a Fearsome Shade, buys some time. Keep in mind, Solar Storm's available. Might come through here. It's going to connect. Oh, no! It takes him down! That's huge! It shuts off aggression from Cloud9. Impunity. There's a silver lining for that team fight, I tell ya.
Yeah, turret goes over to Cloud9, but Queasy with the snipe from the base. Def Q played it so perfectly. The Fearsome Shade bought just enough time to not give up the ace. In fact, they find a kill off it as well. As we get into it right here, we'll see the Fearsome Shade comes out and forces Cloud9 back. Def Q lives on a sliver and is able to, this is right now, Celeste is now on the fold. Here comes the Solar Storm right through.
That's got to feel pretty bad if you're Old School, I got to be honest. You did so much work for that kill, and in the end, you go down. Look at these Fish Foods, man. Gabe Visual thinking about getting a sponsorship from an ice cream company. You know the one I'm talking about.
Let's not go there.
Cloud9, though, they do have a good edge here in this game. About 2,000 gold in the lead. Impunity struggling to find windows of opportunity to be proactive. They were getting them earlier on, but now not quite making as many plays here. We do have an echo for Def Q, though. Interesting itemization coming from one of your damage sources. Definitely focused on keeping Queasy alive.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Def Q isn't really a damage source. He's playing the try to help protect Queasy role. Hence the Clockwork first item has not even completed a second tier 3 offensive item, has gone right into that echo for that Fearsome Shade or Ordain, whichever one really comes out and is more effective in a fight for him.
Now Impunity beginning to make their way up the map. You can see a line of stars where Queasy's trying to zone out Cloud9 from making progress towards the gold mine. So far doing quite a good job, also taking down these seeds before they even hatch, making it so Joseph doesn't have his full power level when they actually get into the engagement. But C9's making their way to actually go for a flank play here. Look at Impunity. They have no easy way back towards their side of the map. If Joseph stays on the bottom and the Impunity get engaged on this, be bad. That's going to be a stun onto Queasy as well. He's got to get out of here. Silence lands, though. Good gauntlet stun. Quadraball buys him some time. Old School into the gauntlet wall again. He's struggling so much to get where he needs to in this fight, but Queasy is so low. Joseph's going to take him down on the other side. Gabe's winning the fight against DefQ. Quadraball is going to go down. This could be another ace for Cloud9. They're starting to pull away with a huge lead.
Yeah, they definitely are. 6-1. They've taken over a 3,000 gold lead right at the 15-minute mark as well. This Kraken is on the board. Cloud9, no hesitation to start that one up as Old School's going into the lane. Going to force the minions underneath the turret there and then take away the jungle as well, denying any gold he can away from Impunity. He should have enough gold in pocket when he rotates down, finish off that second monocle, and that's where that build really starts to take off.
Round 2 maybe, Solar Storm. It's coming. It's coming across the map right now. Not going to connect, just barely. I like what Queasy's cooking here, though. He's trying to make these plays happen. Cloud9, they do have a Kraken, though. That's going to be big for this next push.
It looked like Cloud9 was even holding the Kraken low enough that it wouldn't kill it. I think it was a little closer than they intended it to be. They held off a couple attacks there, but...
It was like watching the toaster, right? You just think it's not going to pop. You finally turn away, and then it does.
Yeah.
That was what nearly happened. Impunity, though, they got to defend against Kraken push here, though. This is their tournament life on the line here. Third place to the team who wins this series. Cloud9 looking to take a second spot in the top 3 for North America. Impunity looking to save some face here in front of the home crowd. They've put on an incredible performance so far, but I'm sure they'd like to do even more. Kraken not falling too quickly here. Impunity needs to do some more work onto that Old School. He's looking very strong right now with this tornado trigger just picked up between fights. Cloud9's trying to make space for Kraken to do the work it needs to. Queasy is getting some good damage in, but look at the fish food. Easily shutting down anything Impunity's trying to make happen. Cloud9 just back away. A very successful push for the North American All-Star team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as you just mentioned, Old School did end up going with the tornado trigger over the second monocle. So looking to get more attacks out again. Still does have a high crit rate, does give you that bonus crit damage, and can help you stack that breaking point up very quickly. He does need to get re-infused, however. He has an Aegis built and has you have the core collapse, you'll have the ordain, you'll have the double fearsome shade, you'll have the double gauntlets as well. So it's going to come down to the positioning Cloud9 get in a fight. If Impunity can line these things up correctly, if they can bait the blocks out early with something like the core collapse, then that's going to give a lot more opportunity for DefQ to get a good fearsome shade down, or Courtois to get a good gauntlet down.
Look at Old School, by the way. I love this double reflex block plan he's got going on. When you got double gauntlets, you got to get through. Mine as well. I mean, you got 3 in total that he can actually use for himself. Really strong stuff here. C9 do have good control over the jungle here as well, making sure that Impunity can basically not even leave their base. That's going to be locking down the sentry. Again, late in the game, you want to take these sentries out and make it difficult for the defending team to back away to an objective they control if you're fighting over a Kraken. Old School's got to be a little careful staying on that side of the wall. He's kind of far from his team. But Cloud9 pick up the sentry. They're going to be able to back away safely.
Yeah, they definitely are, as they try again just to take as much gold away from Impunity as they can. Queasy is struggling to get into this clockwork that he needs so desperately, as well as does not have any defense at all. He has not committed into any shielding, any blocks, any armor, and it's really allowed Cloud9 to just get an enormous amount of damage incredibly quickly. Again, if Old School is allowed to get on Queasy, there's no armor. He's going to build these breaking point stacks incredibly quickly, and it makes him that big threat that we've seen him in the past couple games so much sooner.
All right, Kraken's back on the map here, Denominate. Cloud9 has already kicked it off. They did not realize that Impunity had that scout trap in the pit, though. So Impunity knows what's going on. Quadraball is going to pop those boots. They got to make a play happen sometime soon. Fearsome Shade just going to be doing some work on the back line. They're not quite going to be able to... Oh, he gets it! He gets it! Impunity finds finds the steal. They're still alive in this game. Quantivois, he's going to use that first gauntlet, trying to make some space. Defq's very low, though. He's turning around, not going to get the kill. Can Quisi get out of here? That would be huge. Impunity. Man, that steal was their lifeline in this game.
They have not won the game, but as you mentioned, it was their lifeline. They hold on for a couple more minutes as they try to get a couple of these builds online. We don't have a single block yet for the side of Impunity. No Crucible, no Reflex blocks, and it has allowed Gabe Vizzle to constantly just land fish food
Has the mad scientist gone too far?
He has gone a little too far, and you know, this is something we knew them for in the past, was they use their positioning as their defense, and thus far, with the amount of chase that Cloud9 have, we have the War Treads on Gabe Vizzle, as well as Old School has the Journey Boots. He's able to refresh that cooldown and reactivate those boots several times throughout the fight, get the chase down. He's able to find damage onto Quisi. They have to play so carefully since they're just so vulnerable to everything Cloud9 has.
They really are, but as you can see, they have the ability still to make things happen. They've just got to find the windows of opportunity. Clockwork now finished for Quisi. So, I mean, once he sells the flask and he gets a reflex block, maybe that's all it takes. He has a lot of damage. He's got a lot of damage in these fights. Cloud9, they're looking to take another sentry here. I think this is the last one as well. So it does mean that it's going to be very hard for Impunity to play safely in their side of the jungle, especially if Gabe gets some more scout traps down.
Yeah, Solar Storm was fired off by Quisi, but unfortunately is going to just thread the needle between the players of Cloud9. And it's going to be down, you know, for another 20 seconds now, and the Kraken should be up here pretty soon. But Cloud9, I think they're just looking to force a sneaky little fight here and try to just end the game off of one push. 21 minutes in, these death timers are getting long. If they're able to find an ace, this crit build on the Vox, as well as Joseph with 2 Shatter Glasses on this pedal, will be able to chop down these turrets in no time.
All right, Crystalline Fusion refreshed for Quisi. Honestly, Impunity need every bit of help they can get for this next fight. If these last ones have been anything to go by, I like picking up an Infusion, but I'm not sure I like it over picking up a Reflex block.
Gabe has been spotted out here.
Yeah, Gabe is going to back away probably. Oh, he's going to clear up some scout traps. I like that. Mine as well. It's pretty hard for Impunity to pull the trigger here. You're going to have to invest a gauntlet or two if you want to catch Gabe, and little do Impunity know C9 are trying to play some bait strategies here with the rest of the team just below that wall. Impunity, they've got to be careful. They need to not fall for this.
DefQ's finally completed the Broken Myth and is actually appears working into a contraption as well.
Wow.
So trying to make sure they can keep some vision control and not get jumped by Cloud9, because we know what's going to happen if they do, knowing the last couple fights. 7-1 Cloud9. And they're hanging on. They're doing everything they can at this point. Again, as you mentioned earlier, this could be their last opportunity. They pull it off. They're sitting pretty far behind, but we're getting to the point in the game that the gold doesn't matter too drastically. Contraption now complete for DefQ. Still not a single block, though, and that's scary to me considering how accurate Gabe Vizzle has been with the fish food.
Quisi's close, though, about 200 gold away now for picking up a reflex block. So with C9 actually giving up ground in the enemy jungle here, it is allowing Quisi to get some camps in, accelerate that one, especially with Kraken on the map. Kind of needs to happen. By the way, that scout trap by Kraken coming in from Impunity was the same one from the last Kraken. So C9 not necessarily doing their due diligence in clearing the area is going to maybe give a window of opportunity here for Impunity to make something happen, but Cloud9 have begun to try and take this objective one more time.
And they're on their way down, though.
Yeah, Cloud9, they're doing some good damage here. Kraken's falling quite low. Look at Old School off on the sidelines. Thinking about going for some kind of pincer play. DefQ making his way all the way around. I think, yeah, he moved by the minions. So Cloud9 know what's up. They know DefQ's making that position, and they don't feel comfortable fighting. This is interesting. Cloud9, I'm surprised they're actually so afraid of DefQ coming in from the side when they could maybe just go and hard engage on the other two members.
I think it's because they know that literally everything is up and ready to go for the side of Impunity. And if they're able to land that amount of crowd control, there is a real world where this 4-item Celeste that just had an infusion run out, unfortunately, could set up a good play against them. But now this Kraken, can we steal? Steal?
That's Cloud9 actually going for the engage. One gauntlet already used. Good, fearsome shade buys a lot of time. Old School actually taking some poke from that exchange as well. Impunity very healthy. They've got another gauntlet if they want to go back in. Kraken has not been unleashed here, which means it is still quite wounded. DefQ doesn't want to keep it that way, though, not taking the opportunity to re-aggro it. I think that's smart from Impunity. It's very risky to go for anything. Queasy is not going to do
Queasy, they're starting up the Kraken.
They are all, I got respect for this. To be honest, I got respect for it. What's Cloud9 doing? They don't expect Impunity to go for it. Fearsome Shade making space. What is happening right now? What is going on?
Queasy going into a full blue build was able to take that Kraken so incredibly quickly. And now Cloud9, just like that, they have to retreat. They're not in the position to take a fight. They weren't in a position that they could steal away that Kraken. It goes over freely to Impunity, and now with a renewed infusion and an extra crystal bit, can Queasy find the damage he needs to bring down Old School and close this game out? Only 3 turrets between Impunity and a victory. A Celeste way more than capable of doing so.
Impunity isn't even taking the risk of pushing with the Kraken that they just got for free. This game has become so slow because these teams really don't want to take any unnecessary risks. Look at this, just firing off. Who cares? Who needs cooldowns? It's going to be another 45 seconds before I even see the enemy team anyway.
Yeah, adding a little bit of additional damage onto that turret, trying to make sure that the Kraken gets one before it drops. I don't think it's going to happen, but
anyway. Close. Oh,
close. No, not quite though. But you know, we now have a heavy prison built on Queasy as well. Still, no Crucible either. We still have no blocks. All it's going to take is one fight from Cloud9 where they can get a good stun onto Queasy, and Old School should be able to close things out pretty easily.
I mean, there's also a silence that you have to contend with coming out of Cloud9, and against someone like Celeste who needs to spam a lot of abilities, that's actually pretty impactful too. I really, this is an interesting decision. If it pans out, I'm going to have to relearn Vainglory, I think. We got 3 Crucibles on Cloud9. They're picking up the slack here.
Well, they have to build 3 Crucibles, as well as we look at Joseph and Old School. They also have the Aegis as well, because there's so much crowd control they know they have to deal with. And Impunity have gotten turrets taken down, but it hasn't been off the back of fights. It's been off the back of unfortunate rotations for Cloud9. For example, the first turret was made when Cloud9 recalled the shop. Celeste came up, and Old School wasn't able to hold things off. And that's something Impunity has done very, very good at. They recognize that Cloud9 is out of position, and they capitalize objectively every chance they get to do so. Oh!
Ooh. Solar Storm not going to land. Gabe Vizzle wants to set up a play. That's going to be a fish food only on to Quatervoy. You can see he's going to use that first gauntlet, trying to make some space for his team. Queasy's doing a good job of kiting backwards, but Water Wall keeping Old School so healthy. Look at that gauntlet. Just allows the recall to come in from DefQ. That was the primary purpose of that. Now Quatervoy is way out of position. He needs to get a Vanguard in. He's going to get oh! Man, that was close.
What a play coming out of Impunity there. Courtois makes it out alive with the miracle Vanguard over the wall.
Look at the cooldowns, though. I mean, C9 really did not burn that much in order to make Impunity burn a lot. We've got Kraken back on that. Gabe Vizzle's caught out, though. This is bad for Cloud9. Look at the damage. Solar Storm is going to come through. Water Wall, you don't want to burn that one on your captain. Cloud9, they just got burned the same way Impunity did moments ago. Neither team has much left in the chamber.
Now, Gabe Vizzle has a fountain and he has a water wall, but he's going to have to recall all the way to base to top his health off. And now him and Old School are working their way over. Impunity, they're dancing around the Kraken pit here, but Joseph doing a good job of just keeping his presence, and that's keeping Impunity on their toes. They don't want to take the Kraken.
Whoa.
They don't want to risk a steal.
Gabe does get stunned up by another Ordained. DefQ's doing a good job of finding some assistance for Queasy to get poke damage in. Cloud9, though, they're not taking any unnecessary risks. They're not going too far. DefQ getting stunned up there as well. Queasy, what is this last item going to be? Just a Shattered Glass, do we think?
Probably going to be either a Shatter Glass, maybe go into the Spellfire.
Ooh, that could be
we'll have to see. I mean, Celeste is all about the poke. With the amount of crystal damage that he has under his belt right now, we have the Dragon's Eye, we have the Eve of Harvest, Broken Myth, and the Clockwork. There is a real world where the amount of poke that Celeste is able to put out could add that ticking damage over time. It's possible.
It's a world I'd like to live in.
We're in a
Denominator.
5-item Celeste
I'm down.
world right now. I'd love to see it here.
All right, well, Queasy is getting close to being able to afford pretty much anything on top of that heavy prism. But no control over the jungle makes it very difficult to go do that safely. And they have to go clear waves as well. So finding a window to shop without losing Kraken, not actually very easy for Impunity right
Not
now.
when Cloud9 have control.
Oh, Quadavoir gonna have to pop. That gauntlet is great. It just lands on the old school Fearsome Shade, finds 3 as well. The ultimate's being burned very defensively, but very effectively from Impunity. They're certainly making plays. Frostburn, okay, interesting, but we do have Cloud9 beginning to take this crack, and look at how far away DefQ is. Queasy's pretty far also. That's a Solar Storm. It would need to do a lot more damage to make that one happen, but everyone on C9 pretty chunked out. They're slow at taking this Kraken in the late game. I would actually, yeah, Impunity, they're going to go ahead and keep this aggro. They want this fight for the first time in quite some time. Impunity being incredibly proactive, even using Ordain for damage on the Kraken. Old School is being very threatening with his positioning here. Keep in mind, Solar Storm back up in 4 seconds. That does mean that it will be available for the fight. Old School wants to flank Queasy. He's trying to split up a little bit here. They need DefQ to get back in the fight. Oh, the fish food! Where was your reflex block, Queasy? No, Impunity! They have been routed. C9 are looking for more. Another fish food, DefQ. He's got to get out of here. Dodges the second one, though. Quadavoir, I don't see him escaping with his life. That was huge for Cloud9. Impunity, they just got absolutely annihilated in one fell swoop.
How many times did we have to sit here, AJ, and say all it's going to take is for one good stun coming out of Gabe Vizzle? DefQ trying everything here. Has forced Cloud9 off. The aggro has reset on the Kraken. There is that. But it's only a matter of time. I mean, he can't come down and contest it by himself.
I mean, Impunity at this point, they've got to defend against Kraken. That's not going to be easy, okay? Is it possible, though, is the question. I think it is possible, right? It's still this game is still live.
It's definitely a real scenario. They have a Celeste. They have the just artillery in their belt that they can bring down on this Kraken. It doesn't walk out of the way of Heliogenesis. It just kind of sits there and lets you do whatever you want to it, especially once it gets onto the turret, and that makes it very easy for Celeste to make short work of its health. But Cloud9